The Irish government, it's rumoured that they're thinking of introducing a ban on social media for under 16s. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good idea as a parent, I suppose, really, of children who've been badly affected by social media in the past, particularly at a young age, for various reasons. So I think they should introduce the ban.
Because other countries, Spain, France, USA, China, have all, UK, have all either introduced it or are toying with the idea of it being introduced.
Yeah.
So I would say that social media, access to social media can cause a lot of anxiety.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. The rates of self-harm goes up, the rates of suicide.
Bullying.
I even remember back in 2017, there was a thing on Snapchat that was, How Deep was the name of it. And it was basically a craze among young girls aged 13 to 14, even in some cases 12 in national school, 6th class, where, they took snaps of their cuts.
Self-harming.
Of deliberately self-hurting. And, whoever had the deepest one kind of won. So I mean, very, very dangerous kind of behaviour. You're looking at, other adverse effects from that, like blood poisoning, possibly suicide, end up dying because of your self-harm injuries as well. Being afraid to kind of tell somebody if you're, if you've hit a vein or an artery or something,
What I find too, and this is not just in teenagers, because I spoke to somebody recently about this, it affects your sleep cycle, because you're scrolling through stuff, either it's TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. You're going from one thing to the next, and your brain doesn't stop that process when you go to bed.
Yeah.
And it finds it hard to calm down.
It does. Wasn't there something about blue light? The blue light.
There's blue light that
from
is
the
emitted
phone.
that stimulates the brain.
I think the new phones now have omitted that. They've left it out.
They've
changed it to something different, or you can put night version on. But it's very cleverly done. They want to keep the thing going, of course, because I'd say that the biggest population of users for social media would be teenagers and children.
Yeah.
When you think about it. Now, there's the social aspect of it as well, Paul. I mean, there's arguments for and against. Definitely that's what would have informed my decision to allow my children to have social media when they were smaller.
Do you think that if the government banned it, it would take the burden off the parents?
I do.
Ban it?
Yeah.
That'd be good to say.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. I think the government need to act on it, because they'll make an informed decision. They'll bring in, top professionals, psychologists, and
I don't know. I think the government agencies and departments can be incompetent as regards to this. Whatever about, I think it's unenforceable is what I'm trying to say. I don't think you can get around with VPNs and fake IDs. It's so easy to create. How do you enforce this ban?
Well, I suppose the large part of this ban, Paul, is going to be imposed on the social media platforms themselves. It's going to force them to look for ID verification.
But what would that be?
So a passport. Do you know, it's very simple. If you're setting up a bank account, you can't open one without...
I don't know. I remember my daughter when she was small, she wanted to get in somewhere and she doctored her passport photo.
Did she?
And her age and stuff. And then when I found out about it, I was kind of, what? And I said, you cannot use that passport anymore. Whatever about a doorman not noticing it. And
oh
so we had
God.
to apply for a new passport and pretend the other one had been lost.
Oh God.
And destroyed.
Oh my
But
God.
do you think something like having, if everybody's assigned a PPS number from the government, then you can't use anybody else's. You can't use your parents because they probably already have a social media account. Would something like that work?
I don't know, Paul. Because like you said there in the beginning, there's always ways around these things.
Yeah.
But the large majority of people will adhere to the rules and the guidelines set down by the authorities. Yeah. There's always going to be people who will break the rules and do whatever. But like any good society, most people will follow along with what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, but do you think too?
And that sorry, Paul, but that will actually make it, the more fashionable thing.
Yeah, but
not
what
to
about
have social
what about
media.
parents who are complicit in getting their kids to sign up to accounts like they kind of go, it's only this, it's only that, should be fine. What do you want to look at a few pictures or something, or chat to their friends?
Yeah.
Sometimes there can be that naivety, but there is also the reality is that this is how teenagers communicate modern day.
I mean, that's the big social aspect, and as I was saying earlier, that is exactly why I let my children have Snapchat when they were 11 or 12.
Oh, so you were one of those parents?
I'm one of those parents who dropped the boundaries a bit. Now, they didn't have it when they were 5.
What was your thinking though? Was it kind of, their friends, everybody's on it, they're not?
Yeah. Like, at that stage, everybody was getting mobile phones. Now, they weren't allowed to have mobile phones. They had their iPads, but they could still access much the same apps and things. Now, they weren't allowed to have things like Facebook or that. But I still think that the likes of Snapchat, and I know I'm giving Snapchat an awful bad rap here today, and apologies to Snapchat, but, because it's not monitored properly, I would say, or vetted by the Snapchat Incorporated, that like a lot of bullying does go on online, through Snapchat, because the snaps disappear, and both of my children have had bad experiences on opposite ends of this.
Right.
Because I'd say as a parent, I probably was a little bit too lax, like I don't think they should have had it as early as they did, because then they would have made better decisions, and the impact of what was being said to them wouldn't have affected them so badly.
So they were bullied?
Yeah, so one of them was bullied and the other was accused of bullying because she lost the head.
Ranted.
Which I later found out was actually the father of the child, whom she thought she was ranting at. But he was putting up smiley faces, kind of.
Right.
Drawing her out. Yeah, really nasty stuff.
But also another aspect of especially Facebook is that it can be educational. Like when I've done online courses, they will inevitably set up a Facebook group where people can chat and talk about the difficulties they have, whatever, and get information, get support.
Yeah.
So there is an educational aspect to it.
So like my story about the father using that, I mean, you don't know who's coming into that chat either.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? Like, there was my child, quite innocent, I would say, at the time when this whole discussion started. And then you find out later that an adult is actually
that's
drawing her out. Do you know, it is. And like with any of those educational things as well, groups and social things, you have to be so careful, like that predators don't come in, and adults don't come in, because they're also very, apt at creating fake accounts. And like one thing I've always been super, super strict on is that they don't friend people that they don't know.
Yeah.
If they think they know them, they have a set of questions that they ask. Oh, what age are you? What school do you go to? Things like that.
Right, they can verify that they are the person they think.
Are you in a group that knows you? And if you're not, then no, that's not the person you think it is.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I would have been very strict around that kind of monitoring to make sure that they weren't being, I suppose, coerced.
But I do think ultimately it comes down to the parents, because if you rely on the government have laws that says that your kids can't go out in the street at night and throw stones through shop windows. But as a parent, you should make sure that your kids don't want to do that in the first place, that they're educated, that they're listened to if they're angry, frustrated, that the government can't parent your kids.
Yeah.
And I think whatever about the government toying with the idea of introducing a ban, I think it's unworkable unless the parents implement it.
That's it, yeah. And I think that's where the whole moral thing comes into it, doesn't it? I mean, there are parents like myself, I would say, out there who would love to have a ban in place so they can say, no, we're not allowed, it's illegal. The government have implemented this. So they won't take that chance, and they'll gladly say no to their younger children, And then there are parents who just don't give a damn. They don't give a crap what their child is looking at or viewing. They just, want to be able to get on with whatever they're doing, and they don't care what the kid is experiencing online or whatever.
Okay.
That happens too. It's in the minority, but certainly it is out there, as well.
Okay. It'd be interesting to get your opinion on this. What do you think?
What do you think actually
well,
about it?
Well,
I mean,
as
do you
I said,
think it should be implemented?
I think that it's irrelevant in a way if the government introduces a ban, because I think it's unenforceable. I think it very much comes down to parents.
Yeah.
And there are some parents who will, looking over the shoulder of as their child is, they're on social media and they kind of go, I don't like that, or I don't think this. And if you can have that discussion with the child and get the child to realise, well, you're actually out there for their own good. It's not that you're kind of going, no, you're not going to do that, and you slam your fist down. That's not going to work, because the child will get around that.
I agree with you, because they'll go behind your back, and that's worse. And I always said, I'm such a huge advocate for, being open and honest with your children. And from a young age, I've always really informed my kids of the dangers out there. I have been, very open with them about predators and sexual abuse and, coercive control and different things that can happen online, in school, with partners or whatever it is in down the line. And I have to say, I just think they're great. They're brilliant, because they do recognise if somebody is trying to cheat them out of money, even online. These scammers.
The scams.
Yeah. Like, they're way quicker to identify that stuff than I am.
The amount of times my Netflix account has been suspended and all my photos have been deleted.
Jesus, no.
Yeah, I don't have a Netflix
Oh,
account.
God. Oh, poor Paul.
We are the Happy Headers. Let us know what you think. We'll talk to you soon.
Hit that subscribe button.